one thing that all of us are looking at is how honest you are about what you're doing and how original you are about what you're saying or doing, because these two characteristics we think are vital for good leaders, and that's what is grossly missing in contemporary India. So please ensure that we are very critical on those two aspects of your, when you lay bare your talents. Start off with Subramanian.
A very good morning.
1 minute. The time will be 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So at the end of 2 minutes you have a warning bell, then you sign off in 30 seconds thereafter. Is that comfortable with all of you? Were you on some other meter? No. So that's fine? Please.
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Okay, 2.5 plus half.
May I start, sir?
Yes. 1 minute. Yeah.
A very good morning to all the fellow disciples of Swami Vivekananda. It's glad to see you all back once again. Pain, tears, and suffering. These three things I have found common in whoever I have interacted with during my project. I asked my mom, Mama, they asked me to take an interview of someone who's struggling and all. Tell me where can I go? And my mom told, you don't have to go anywhere. Sit at home. I'll show you so many people around us who are suffering. So I identified 4 people to interview and choose one amongst them to present for the project. One person lost her husband and she has 2 children. She's working as a maid in one of my aunt's house. Another person is of the same problem. Her husband is a drunk person. He left her. And the third person was, I have seen her, been seeing her for past 15 years. She will be there in Srinagar Kali Venkatesh Swami temple. She'll be giving prasad. I thought I interviewed her. And fourth person is the flower vendor who comes to our house, sells flowers at the doorsteps. I've chosen to present about the flower vendor because all the 4 are suffering. But the fourth one, the flower vendor, was fighting back. And I saw a leader in her. And frankly speaking, that is the only reason why I presented the project. This person's name is Ayamma. She had been selling us flowers for the last 5 years. That day I called her in and asked her, Amma, 2 minutes, matadacha. She told, okay, but my son is at the security guard. I'll bring him. And she went. I thought her son would be small. Because she said I left him at the security guard. So she went down and brought a 25-year-old son. He was a little autistic. I'm not sure whether it is autism or not, but the symptoms were like autistic. Poor mother, she herself doesn't know that it is autism. She only knows, and this person I've seen long time, he has a mental disorder. And I asked her, Amma, she told, I'm selling from 5 years. What will your husband do? I asked. She told, my husband was selling flowers at the temple, but 5 years back, my elder son, who works in the electricity department, in an accident he died, and that took her husband to shock, and he's now currently bedridden. This woman has a daughter and a son, and her husband, bedridden husband. She comes home selling flowers, and she still works for them. So, what I've learned is, we don't do our exam properly, we tell God did injustice to us. This woman who faced these many things still tells, just because God is there, I'm still like this, and she gives the extra flowers every day to the thing. I've really experienced my experience. Thank you.
I've seen a trend. All of us seem to believe that this experience, the experience, is about overcoming poverty. Now, is that the greatest challenge in life?
No. I didn't choose this subject because of the poverty thing. As I told, there are 4 people who are suffering from the same consequence. But this woman also suffers from problem of the child not being well. She told me, as long as I'm alive, I'll take care of my son. But I'm worried about. So that showed me how much a mother is concerned. What is the agony of a mother. And one more thing is, sir, experience the experience. Whenever I read the topic, what I felt is one thing that I wanted to share. We go to vegetable market. We see vegetables. Even if the vegetable that has small fade or shape, we throw it away. Sometimes few people go on to ask the vegetable vendor what all spoiled foods you're bringing. But nobody of us, like most of us, do not care about the very dangerous injuries that they have. We don't care to ask them. At the same time, we can never know the scars at their heart. And when I spoke with them, this person 5 years says he's selling flowers to us, and I was selfish. Didn't ask her. Just because my project was
Did you do this before the project? Did you ever do this?
I actually wanted to finish off with that, but time isn't there. So I was really guilty. Till now, I didn't really speak with her. Just because my project, I invited her into my house and spoke. That still makes me guilty. And sir, after that happened, even today morning when I was coming, I was speaking with my driver. After the interview that I presented, I have spoken with 6 people and got to know about them. At least after doing that, I'm thinking about people. So yes, sir, I am redefining myself now.
Thanks. Couple of other things. Please don't get very repetitive of what you've already written to us. That we've read. We'd like you to give us more angles or more nuances of whatever is in what you've written to us. Adrija Halder.
mom's office, and the reason her life story, it's very interesting. She's a very, very young fighter, and that's what struck me, that she was so young when her struggle started, and she somehow made it through it all with a smile. So I'll just tell you a little bit about her story. She was 15 when she got married, and her first child ended in a miscarriage, and her second child, she realized when he was about 6 years old that he was mentally handicapped. And at that level of society, it's very hard for society to accept such kinds of things. They are not educated to understand. So she was very frightened, what's going to happen, because the society, people around her, they needed her child. They said, ye dekho, kaisa hai. When she would go in the bus, they would make fun of her. And to make matters worse, she had another daughter, and now there were 2 children, and she was all surviving. The whole family was surviving on just rupees 6,000. And obviously the poverty was a big challenge. And she fought through it all. There was a time when, do you know what her in-laws said? They actually said that, tumhara pehla bacha, so he is not normal. Put him in a mental hospital. Your second child is a girl, so just take another kid. And at this point of time, she was devastated because this is the kind of attitude that she got from her very own family. But after that, she was completely downtrodden. She lost hope. But soon once the weakness passed, she managed to stand up straighter, and she said that, this is a gift of God. Whatever God has given me, I have to accept it, and I do not need a replacement in my children, another child. This is the gift of God, and I will accept it. And saying this, she underwent a procedure so that, no future unplanned children came along, and she decided that she would take a job. And her in-laws were very against it. They said, no, you don't have to work, you can't do this, the woman in the house should stay in the house. But she fought, and she took a job, and now she's earning, and she's striving towards attaining security for her children. She has even started a local chick collection, where she's collecting money so that her children can have a better future. And she has taken it upon herself that her son, he should never face any kind of problems in life because he's not normal and people, you know how people are. So she hopes that she can make a better future for him. And so what I learned from this is that life will give you lemons, but it's the way how you deal with it that matters. And I interviewed some of her staff friends, and they all said that, you know, she's so happy all the time, she's smiling all the time, and she's so good at what she does. So she's overcome her problems and made it through, and she's successful at what she does, and leader in her own right. Thank you.
Anuja, this problem, how much of time have you spent with this child? Have you ever gone and met up with this boy who's...
No, I haven't, but I'm going next week. Me and my mom are going to go. So, I spent around 3 days with her, and I got to know a lot about the child, and we made it a point to go. We decided we will.
How much is fortitude?
Sorry?
Fortitude. Swamiji also spoke about it sometime.
Fortitude.
The willingness to fight, that grit to keep on. Is that a part of the requirement of every human being, or is it the requirement of the leader?
No, it's every human being. But the leader is the one who will show you the way. He will say that yes, you need somebody sometimes to tell you that this is the right path, you need to get the courage and move on. So the job of the leader is to have fortitude, but to also encourage others to do so. But it is a responsibility and a need for everybody to have that strength and will in all conditions of life, whether poor, whether rich. Thank you, Adrija.
Pranab.
Namaste, Varnal. For the benefit of those who haven't read the report, I have chosen to speak about Lakshmi, my former maid. First off, I'd like to talk about why I picked her. The very day Swamiji gave us that topic, naturally my mind started searching frantically for possibilities as to whom I could talk to and write about. And so naturally, the prospect of interviewing my maid or my watchman automatically crossed my mind. But then I just went past that and started searching for more people. For example, there was this one man I've been seeing for a long time in a petrol pump near my house. I'm sure he's just about barely eager to be working, but he is so content with their job, so happy all the time. And then another possibility was a lady that Swamiji told me about, a mother of 2, and both her children have cancer. Imagine the plight of a woman like that. But then finally I circled back to Lakshmi for 3 reasons. 1, the familiarity. I've been known Lakshmi for over 4 years now, and talking to a person that I already knew. See, to a person that you just go and approach, it's not going to be easy for them to open up to a complete stranger. So that way, I thought the familiarity would help her open up with me so I could present her case better. And secondly, the fact that I knew her better meant that I did not have to rely completely on what she told me to present her life to you. And thirdly, most importantly, there was this guilt in me that I had considered people like her in the beginning, but then just passed on because I thought I had to be different from others. So, yeah. Again, for the benefit of those who haven't read it, Lakshmi was married at the age of 17, had 2 children by the time she was 19, realized that her husband was a drunkard. Eventually, his own habits killed him by the time he was 23, and now she's 27 years old, a single mother with 2 children. And she works as a domestic maid to live her life. I feel that this topic isn't really one that's easy to present, because what you feel when you interview people like that isn't something that you can put into words. The feeling is something that's a complex mixture of gratitude, thankfulness, respect, absolute awe. It's difficult to define it. It's like when you talk to her, automatically she's been living with amenities that we can't imagine living without. And yet, the kind of vigor with which she marches on, the kind of conviction, it puts me to shame. Every time I think about that incident, I'm not proud of it, but I'm not ashamed of saying that if she had lived my life, she would have gone places with that attitude.
Each one of us has experiences. What we do with it is important, right? Now, how has this experience changed you, or how will it edge you to move on further? Because probably you've known her for 4 years, but the depth to which you've come to know her now is not what you knew her 3 years back, right? So, what is your take on this?
Most importantly, it has completely changed my perception of things. Because before I spoke, I'd known her all the while, and the worst part is I knew her problems. Now, while there were a few things that were new to me when I spoke to her, I knew about most of it, but I never really thought of it from her perspective. I never really thought of it being in a family, being born into a family like the one I was born into. I did not really consider the possibility of having to grow up in a situation like that. And that way it's been huge.
Is problem a perspective or is it universal?
I'm sorry?
Is problem perspective or universal?
I'm not sure I get your question.
That's the challenge.
Could you please repeat it, sir?
Is problem a perspective? You told us that in the context of this person, you've known her for 8 years and now you've seen her perspective. Now, if you look at all the other examples, it seems that poverty is nearly a universal problem. So do you see the challenge lying in the perspective of a person and how he deals with it? Or do you see with the universality of the problem? Because many of the leaders that you have named would have been very ordinary people in a Russian republic, because all of them would have had food, clothing and shelter to have.
Actually, as I mentioned, one of the possibilities that I considered was the mother of two with cancer, whose children had cancer, and she was in no way below the poverty line or anything of that sort. But then again, as I presented in my report, one of the main reasons I picked her is because her story is just like so many others.
I'm sorry, I'm asking you one more question, but you'll have to deal with this, Pranav.
Okay.
Why is it that all of you, 28 leaders in the making, 28 leaders in the making, uniformly have not picked a single person outside or above the poverty line? I tell you where I come from. I'm worried that we're all looking at the challenges of life from a condescending angle. We are all not so poor. What we have and what the others don't have is the challenge of life.
No, it's more of, in spite of what, we are definitely more fortunate than her in materialistic ways. But in spite of having this, internally she has progressed much more than we have. And that is a matter of concern. Not the fact that she does not have as much. In spite of having so little, it is a common phenomenon that it's when you don't, what I've observed from the other speeches so far, it's when you don't have the materialistic comforts that you awaken the other side of you.
Take it, thank you.
I know this will go for a bit long, but whenever a participant is coming, do applaud, and when the participant leaves after speaking, applaud even more. Okay? Just to boost their morale. Okay? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Amandeep Kaur. Amandeep Kaur. And after Amandeep, it will be Siddharth, so get ready, Siddharth.
Namaskar and greetings to one and all. I'm here to speak about the experiencing the experience. Like many others, I chose to speak with my mate. She's still dealing with many difficult circumstances, and the thing that I learned from her experience, that her determination to make her life better, to make her daughter's life better, to get her sisters educated. All this had helped her come up out of her poverty. Like, she's still poor, but the level that she has come up from should be appreciated. I mean, she's confident about what she does. She is a selfless woman. She thinks about her sister, she thinks about her daughter, she thinks about her family before thinking about herself. Actually, this woman, like many other people, was born in poverty. She got married at a very young age, and her parents didn't even know that her husband was a drunkard and he would drink. And after she got married, she had to work to satisfy her hunger and her needs. And her husband was a bad man. He would beat her up and take all the money that she earned. So she understood, like after 3 years, a daughter was born to her, and she understood that it's not possible for me to spend my life with this person. And so she took to moving out of the village, coming into the city. She did not know anything. She learned everything because she had the willpower. She wanted to struggle. She wanted to face the circumstances and come out of it. Now, like, I have known this woman from like around 5 or 6 years. I had known her story when she had started working in our house. But now, like again after 5-6 years, when I spoke to her, she told me about everything. I understood everything what she's been through now, because maybe at that age I was kind of young and I didn't really understand what all that meant. And sir, you had asked about why everyone of us are talking about poverty. Maybe at this stage we think that poverty is the biggest problem because we are teenagers, we haven't seen many people suffering. So for us, when we don't have the financial support, we think that's a problem. So I guess that is why most of us have taken up to talk about that. Thank you.
What would you have chosen if not poverty?
If not poverty,
situation.
alright. Okay, that's a difficult question. Maybe how people come out, like when they lose someone, how bad it becomes. Like if I'm dependent on someone and I lose that person just disappears from my life. How I come out of that problem, because that point of time, that depression and everything is a very bad phase. So maybe I could have talked about that thing, if not poverty.
To take the question further, now we are talking of experiencing the experience in the context of leadership. You've just told us about this lady who's been making n number of sacrifices. You made a monk out of her. Is the leader a monk? Is a monk a leader?
Okay. This woman, she is a leader because
I'm not about this woman any longer. We've gone past it. Is a monk a leader? Is a leader a monk?
Maybe a monk could be a leader because he is leading his life in such a way that he inspires the other people to follow him. And a leader could be a monk because a leader is supposed to lead a very good life and he's supposed to inspire the other people to follow him. So a leader could be a monk also. So I think both the possibilities are true. Thank you.
We have Siddharth as the next, and after Siddharth it will be Guy.
Morning everyone. Morning everyone. I talk about a man who is among the score of Bengalis, came here in 2004 in one of the YSR policies. But then YSR departed to heaven and took away all the dreams of that 2000, the scores of people who have come from all the directions to this Hyderabad. I talk about a man called Abdul. Now he's a cycle declared man. Now what the mere quality from the first day I've seen, I've observed is, this was the very first day at the bus stop, and he waved me. Now, coming from a society where status means status means a very grand thing, I used to think why he is waving at me when I'm not even replying. And this process just continued for 10, 20 days. He still waves at me. There was all different in my mind. That is it a mere cheerless, or how does he get that so much of the cheerless in his heart? That despite being a cycle repairman man, he is still able to wave at the other people. In those rainy days, I observed him as standing with a mere polythene bearing on his head and helping a lot of those people in pushing those cars who were stopped because of some mechanical work, changing the tires of still being a green hot, changing the tires of their cars. This man was so lustful that it shook me. Because when I first had a conversation with him, with Abdul, he told me one of the very most important things. I asked him about his story that I've just told you now. And I just asked him, why just don't you go back to Kolkata from where you've come? And he replied back, the day I arrived in Hyderabad, I actually spent all the money in distributing those beggars. Now this shook me because I was whole shocked. And then the very next day, what I observed was he was carrying 2 big polythenes with him, and in that much of food. And despite being a poor person, he was distributing all from that 1 kilometer area to all the poor person sittings. And remind you of one more fact: he is a Muslim. And I observed in this our Hindu festival called Hanuman Jayanti, he used to go there and he used to, he was so, he's an atheist. But but when I asked him that, do you really believe, your religion does not allow us to interfere or to intervene into another religion, but why are you doing it? He says, this nature is actually laughing at us. And this is the moment where we have to care for all the other people. I have failed to do anything for this guy's soul. But still, in this 60 years of life, I want to help those another needy people whom I can help. Thank you.
Before I throw up a question, anybody in the audience, please, we seem to be monopolizing, making life a little uneasy. Anyone can ask questions. Just throw up your hands so that we could identify them. In future at least. Siddharth, yet again poverty, yet again alms giving. Do you give alms?
Do you?
Give alms to people, poor people, you distribute money, prasad, food, etc.
Yeah, so.
Do you know it's illegal?
I didn't get your question.
I asked you first, do you give alms? You said yes. Do you give money or food to poor people on...
No. I actually refer to that Abdul. He is giving alms to all those poor people.
Isn't that illegal?
No, it isn't illegal.
I would think it is. There's a law against beggary in this country.
Yeah, there is a law against begging in the country, but when there are 100 more laws impending...
Sorry. I don't get this theory at all. If there's a law for all of us to follow. It's not for the citizen to say there are 122 laws, let's follow 120, let's give a holiday for 2. No, this is not summer vacation for legislations. How can a man who breaks the law be your leader, your inspirational leader?
Where the topic has come to laws, I would totally disagree with you, sir, that if if it would have been a summer vacation for legislations, then I would say if he's helping for those 100 peoples, I don't mind breaking those 100 laws. I don't mind breaking those I don't really care.
This is exactly the theory of bias driven. This is exactly the theory of E. Raja. This is exactly the theory of every man who breaks the law in society. And where do you get this right? Where does civil society give a man the right? And I know it sounds very nice to get clapped when you make a popular statement. And I know I'm taking an unpopular stance. It doesn't make a difference to me. Where does an individual in a civil society get the right to say, if I decide what is good for society, independent of what the aggregate of society decides, I will go ahead with it?
That is what a leader means. We are...
Leader does not... 1 minute, please, Siddharth. I don't think leadership means a man who breaks the law. The only leader like that was the man who broke the law and said, punish me, I will be in jail for every mistake that I made. This man Abdul doesn't do that.
Well, now if the question has come here, then I would like to state that our Indian legislations are based on ethics and morals. And if that is true, then I would say that in 1947, our makers of the constitution has really made a very big mistake in recognizing this thing. Because I really see those 100 people in need where those reforms cannot work, a simple individual has to take the initiative. And where is this initiative has come and you are just impeding that, you are just outclassing him and saying that he's a lawbreaker, then I would say let him be a lawbreaker. Let in the civil society there be a lawbreaker. So a new reform, a new legislation would have come in. So a society needs a reforming. Whenever that legislation came, that article, I don't feel.
Yeah, we've got your answers. We've got you. Thank you. And after Gayatri, it will be Abhiraj Sinha.
Give me the strength never to disown the poor or bend my knees before the insolent mind. To give me the strength to rise my head high above the daily trifles. And give me the strength to surrender my strength to thy will with love. Hari Om and a very good morning to one and all present here. I'm Gayatri from Chinmaya Vidyalaya, and I would be here sharing my experience which I had in this project. Before I begin, I would like to thank the management for giving each one of us, each one of the budding leaders, for experiencing the real world. So thanks a lot. Now coming to the experience part of it. Yes, I did learn a lot. Okay, the lady whom I wrote about, she was a known person, a known acquaintance, and then I didn't have to go around roaming for looking out for people. Well, and I didn't mention her name or I couldn't give her details because she did not want me to give. Please oblige me for that. Actually, she was not even willing to give the story because she said, what I did is just my duty, it's just my responsibility. It's nothing great, why do you want to drive it? I was so inspired by that. She was so duty conscious, so, yes, it is my duty and I have to do it. So she was firm and very well principled. That moved me and I wanted to write about that lady. Now, this lady, why I say I was inspired by her, that the main reason was her indomitable spirit. The spirit which she had in her. Her spirit could not be subdued by any circumstances. If that was her goal, yes, obstacles were bound to come her way and she looked at them with a smile. She looked at them, she overcame. And I really like the way and I'm very inspired with that. And one thing which I learned from her was never give up attitude. Be brave, be bold and face the situation. Don't run away. If you run away, person. You face it, you are something different. So I learned that, and before I would like to conclude by saying this, life is too short to wake up in the morning with regrets. Oh, I didn't do this. Oh, this couldn't happen. Just take the way how life is. Everything happens for a reason. The only thing what we have to do is look forward. That is the way. So let's march on and march ahead. Thank you.
Is life a textbook?
No.
We seem to be getting these very ideal chapters. Do this, be nice. Life is not about regrets. Life is this. Life. I almost get a feeling I'm reading a fantastic piece of fiction. And when I go out, I see a wholly different world. Where is this huge dichotomy? What's happening?
Okay, basically it's not fiction. I personally met her. She's a known acquaintance.
Please, don't mix styles. I'm not saying she doesn't exist. I'm saying when we are talking, we are so principled, we look at such a wonderful world, we're looking at ideal people, we're looking at ideal principles. Where does all this leak out when you go onto the streets of reality?
Okay, this thing is lacking in people. That I'm just saying you, this is one which is required
What do you
in
do
us.
to get people have it?
Okay, basically people need to have courage and a driving force to have it in them. They need to sympathize, they need to have humanity.
That's why I'm asking you, Gayatri. Sorry, I'm interrupting. How do you install this motor into the human being?
It is already inbuilt. It's just that it is tormented. It's
How do you put on the
dormant
switch?
state.
How do you put on the switch?
You need to be inspired. You need to make people. This is the what we are taught in school. The moral values. So the tormented quality which is inbuilt in us is given water, given sunlight, given all the nourishment required, and hence it
This is
grows.
what is taught in school?
Actually,
I don't know. I
yes.
thought in school they teach you science square theta plus cos square theta is
The education part of it. Every school has been mandatory to teach moral values. Moral values are not
Has your
something
parent ever asked you how much marks you got in your moral science fair? Ever. Let's get honest.
exactly coming to that point. Moral values is not something which is to be taught, but it's just a way where you are
Even in your
learning.
moral science paper, I'll come back to Subramaniam in a minute. But what I'm asking you is, do you believe? And I noticed this also. None of you have been inspired by your parent. None of you have been inspired by your teacher. None of you, and very honestly, thank you very much for doing that. Because I believe most of we as parents, most of we as teachers have failed. So thank God you were honest enough and not giving us as your examples. I'm asking you this because I see this huge divide. True as I would like all of you, what you're saying is true, nice, believable, real. But I go out, I see a wholly different India. Where is this happening? Is it because all of you are coming to Ramakrishna Much? How many of you who come here go back with it? Or as Swamiji some time ago said, once you leave the premise, it's all evaporated. Where is this disconnect?
Okay, I'm very sorry to the lady whom I wrote. To answer to your question, she's none other than my grandmother. I'm inspired by her. And yes, I wrote about her. And coming to the thing that where is it going? The values which we are learning, yes, it is there. It's just that, we are not able to connect our values to the current modern world. The reason being, the world is running at a different pace. We need to correlate it and we need to have connection there.
Alright, got you. Subramaniam?
So just a clarification, sir. You just made a divide that is an education that is compulsory, that all schools are mandatory. Let me tell you, you just made it.
I would like to restate, I would like to say out what I said. Education is being done. Moral values is also being taught. That's what I said.
So it's better to restate it. Education without the moral values isn't complete. So sin square plus cos square theta is equal to 1. Without the moral value is useless.
That's true. That's what I said. Moral values are just,
How many of you students have written to your school principal and said, sir, please also mark us for modern science, for civics?
Sir,
How many of you have told your parents, sir, Dad, if I get 5 marks less in physics, it's alright, but ensure that my morality is high? How many will put your hands up? Your mom says it to you. How many of you say it to your parents? See how many hands have gone up in this house? 4 assuming their honesty levels. Or a few more. Yeah. All the Vivekananda Yuva Kendra members. Okay, thank you. I've got you.
Thank you.
Got it. The reason why I am doing what I am doing right now, I owe you an explanation. I'm not trying to steal the debate. The reason I'm doing this is I want you all to go back with the thought. I want you all to really begin to think that as a society we become sickeningly hypocritical. We don't do what we say, and we say a lot of things that we don't do. I want at least this generation of students not to fall into that trap. That's all is the reason why I'm trying to push this as fast as I can. Abhiraj? One minute, Abhiraj.
Sir said that you're being hypocritical. I would like to share with you. Gandhi once said, preach what you practice. I would like to, practice what you preach. I would like to restate it as preach what you practice. Just don't keep preaching, do this, do that, and end up doing nothing. Preach people what you do. So that's what I would like to say here. Thank you.
After that, it will be Pranita, is it? Is there something in Pranita? Please.
Very good morning to one and all. My name is Abhiraj. Well, the experience project was, let's say, it was really a new experience for me. The thing is, when Maharaja told me about this topic that I had got, I was really confused, like what to do. Should I just go on the road and randomly ask people, hey, tell me about the problems?
One minute. Sorry, I'm getting it. Good.
So I asked my mom, do you know someone who I can interview? She told me, why don't you ask Narasimhan uncle? He was a driver. And I was surprised because I've known him for 1 year and never really once thought about what he must have been through. So I sat down with him, I took an interview of him, and he told me about the hardships that he has faced in life and how he has overcome them. And that really made me see him in a whole new perspective. So let me tell you a bit about him. The thing is that he wanted to start a taxi business, so he bought a car. For that, he took a loan. It took him 3 years to pay the loan, and even after that, there were further problems. He had to sell his house to pay his house loan. But somehow, he managed to overcome all of this. When we want to pursue a dream, we need a lot of courage, a hell lot of guts to do that, because the path to success is not a straight one. It is full of bumps and curves, and life will just keep throwing hurdles at you. It is up to you whether you hide or you face them head on, and that's what he did. He never once thought that, this is getting too tough, I'll just escape from this or I'll just give up. No, because he had to think of his family, he had to think of himself. He told me that at that time he was thinking, kuch na kuch karke ho jayega, kuch na kuch karke ye khatam ho jayega. And that is how he passed through this hell. Swamiji said that if you have faith in yourself, you can do anything, anywhere, anytime. Because the only limitations that you have are the ones that you set for yourself and the ones set by other people. If you have faith in yourself, then you can do anything, and that's what he did. I'm very happy to say that now he has bought a new car because he plans on restarting his taxi business. He has made a new house for himself. He very proudly tells me about the good work that he has done over there. And I'm very happy to say that he has passed through this tough test of life. And he has come out with flying colors, and this has been a really great life example for me. Thank you.
Could you please tell me how these experiences will make anybody a leader?
See, these experiences, the main character which was showed throughout this was perseverance and determination and having faith in oneself. And that is a very important aspect of leader, because if you want to be a leader, people will mock you. Critics are everywhere, they will make fun of you. But you have to keep thinking that yes, what I am doing is right. And you have to follow that dream and never waver from your belief. You have to be determined constantly. And only then will you become a great leader. Because when Mahatma Gandhi started the Andolan, he obviously thought that, I'm just one person, what can I do? If he would have thought like that, he would have succeeded. He thought, yes, I'm one person and I can make a change. Because a forest fire is started with a single match.
But maybe this taxi driver is just fighting with all odds just to meet both ends.
It's not about meeting both ends, it's about the success. I mean, success is a relative term. For me, it would be to say qualify the next round. For him, success was to actually see his business flourish in front of his own eyes, to see that he was able to support him and his family. He was able to see himself in a new house. And he has achieved that. He's already on that goal, and that is why I see a true leader in him.
But what Mahatma Gandhi was, I don't think at that point of time he was thinking something that he will be a great leader.
Yes, he wasn't thinking that time. That's what I said. The success is relative. For him, success was to see his own country free. And that's what he set out to do. He had faith in himself and he did that.
What would be a success for the taxi driver?
What?
For the taxi driver?
To say have 3 or 4 taxis in his business, to probably spread out his network a bit more, to earn a bit more. That would be successful.
In his case, would it not be a case of not learning from his mistakes?
Sorry?
In his case, I read your story, will it not be a case of a guy refusing to learn from his mistakes? He had 4 taxis once, you know how he mucked it up.
Yes.
So will he be repeating the same mistake?
No, that's what he told me, that at the end of the interview, he told me that I don't want to depend on anyone anymore. That's why the
taxi.
No, he will hire drivers. But he told me that when he bought the
And
taxi.
pause here. You said he inspires you as a leader.
Yes.
And you also told me he doesn't depend on people. Isn't a leader a man who believes that people constitute a group and it is about team spirit?
It is about team spirit, but it does not mean depending wholly on the team. He is a leader. He's supposed to lead them, and the people are supposed to depend on him, not the other way around.
Got you.
Thank you.
After Pranita, we have Ishwar Aditya Kumar.
Hariom and good morning to everyone present here. Hariom and good morning to everyone present here. Today I would like to share my experience about how I felt when I met with this man called Yuva. The road to good is the toughest and the steepest of all. It is no wonder that many fail and no wonder that many succeed. Character is built through 1,000 stumbles. Shiva Kumar, a cobbler at Sangeet Circle, taught me a similar lesson. Tough times don't last, but tough men do. He is a man in his 40s and he sits there in his shop waiting for one of his few customers to arrive, and by night he rests in his little realm under the tarpaulin roof of his house. He has taught me so many things because I'm so honored to meet a man as brave as him. Bravery, we always view it as something like a valor or something fierce. But it can be anything. It can be sacrifice. It can be giving up something for the sake of something else. And it's looking at life in the eye and saying, throw me whatever challenge you want, but giving up isn't my option. Meeting Shiva Kumar made me first empathize, and then I felt how would it be to just be in his position? How does it feel to leave home at the early age of 12, all alone in this cruel world, and then with no education, support a family of a wife and a daughter? And then how does it feel to look at your body lifeless and then realizing that it is your wife's? How does it feel to have your child away from you and being in this city with almost no one to take care of him and struggling to earn a livelihood to support her education? I saw a great man his eyes. I see helplessness, but there's also this will to come out of it. And it makes me reflect upon my own living. And in the past few years or so, especially in my teens, I have always been cribbing about something or the other, or always wanted more, or expected something out of everything. And he has taught me that sometimes it is okay to let go of what you want and make someone else happy. And in him, I see a warrior, I see a fighter, because he's constantly doing something for the betterment of himself. He's not giving up. He's a person with acute asthma, and he's been suffering for such a long time. Yet, he wants to do something for his child and see her grow up, to be someone educated and working. And most of all, I feel he has given me this whole new outlook about the world. I want to do something relevant, I want to make a change. And his meek smile has given me the confidence and something to fight for. And I bow my head to this humble person, because without him I would have not experienced this experience, and now I have something to fight for and to look for in this life.
What model cell phone do you have?
I don't have a cell phone.
You don't have a cell phone. How much does a asthma inhaler cost?
I think around 125, 150.
You got your numbers wrong. Anyway, have you ever gone to a pharmaceutical to buy one and give it to the public?
Actually, my mother has done that.
I know you.
I didn't meet him before that. My mother had done it before. She was the one who introduced me to him, and she works in the railways and she's in the medical department. So she has constantly met him, and she's taken his medical certificates and actually went to the government.
Yeah, that you've said.
Yeah.
How many things are you willing to give up in lieu of, for that girl whom he doesn't meet every day because he does not want to go empty-handed to his mother-in-law's house? That's the story, right?
Yeah.
He has a daughter who's being looked after by her maternal grandma, and he doesn't meet her often because he doesn't want to go empty-handed. Yes.
I would give her, see, the first thing is, she's a young girl, and the first thing that a child would want is new clothes and new things, and I would readily give up that, because I can get it anytime that I want, but to see that spark, first of all, clothing for me is very important, and I feel every girl would like to have that sense.
Have you given her your clothing? Have you given her clothing for an asking?
Not yet, but I will do that. I will do that.
Okay, thanks. Ishwar Aditya Kumar. Why would he should be going up? He went down after I announced his name or before? Hardev. Okay, Hardev.
Hari Om and a very good morning to all in our present here. Panel of judges, namaste Swamiji. I'm Hardev Dabra from Chinmaya Vidyalaya. Going to give my experience on the project what I have given. How many of you know Rani Lakshmi? Just put up your hands. Rani Lakshmi. Almost every one of you. I have seen a lady with many of the characteristics of Rani Lakshmi in her. I would like to tell you a small part of story that is not included in my project, sir. The lady had a child of 2.5 years. She was expecting a child once again. She was expecting a daughter. On the happiness of getting a daughter, her husband had gone to just have a bath in a spiritual river, and he got drowned. She lost her husband. She got a daughter. This is the toughest situation which you can manage in the society. In today's male-dominated society, a lady who doesn't have a husband with herself, coming up in life, taking challenges, upbringing the children with good education, good clothing, everything is very tough. What she's doing, she works as a maid at my house, at 2-3 more houses. But still, despite of everything that has happened in her life, losing her husband at a very less age, she still gives good amount of education to her children. She upbrings them with good amount of moral values. They still, when they come, they touch feet of my mother. That's what I see in them. And that's what I find in her, that she's a true leader. Despite of so many circumstances, she comes up of that. And that's it. Thank you.
Still no questions from here. Yeah, there.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, ask.
I just don't want
He'll ask. Let's not waste time on running with the mic.
I don't want to contradict with my friends and
Question, please.
Yeah. Everyone is actually telling about the persons who are fighting with their own problems and treating them as leaders. What leader is one who selflessly fights for others? And if
the examples are in the nature of somebody whose children is not themselves, somebody else. Charity begins there, is what you're saying. And all of them have cleared this aspect, saying, we are not talking about the poverty part, we are talking about how we are fighting part. It's the fight part, which is what they're talking.
Yeah. And
but tell me this, your name, sorry? Hade. This, her children come and fall on your parents' feet, very nice. Have you fallen on her feet ever?
Yes. On my birthday, I do that. I do that on my birthday, not every day, but on my birthday, I do.
Please don't do it every day.
What if somebody doesn't have such traumatic, such difficult times in their life, and can you learn something on your own even if you are not experiencing such experiences?
Yes, I'm not experiencing also. But then a lady still, when she doesn't have the main back support, for a lady who's married, the main back support is her husband. A lady not even having a husband, but still gives her children so many values, upbrings them with such well upbringing. So that's what makes me find it.
Don't you think it will come quite naturally to somebody who's lost and she has to move on? Whoever it is.
Yes, ma'am, she has to move on, but the shock, there's one more thing which I have not mentioned, ma'am. The shock which came to her, mentally it affected her a lot. She had to go to a psychiatrist. But then to coming out of that, because for a reason, God gave her something but took something from her.
Okay, God, she's quite lucky. God gave her something in return. There are lots of times He doesn't give anything, He just takes it out.
Yes.
And I'm sure a lot of girls here completely disagree with you on a rather sexist statement of yours. What is the women not asking to her backbone? What is all this? Where do you think all this?
So financially, most of them, like at many families, they don't financial back support. I'm sorry for the statement, I'd like to take it back because I can't.
Yeah, I'm saying it's a male dominant society and you enforcing that with your words.
Exactly. You're not even ready to change it. You yourself are a guy, you're not ready to change it.
See, I am against, I'm not.
Excuse me, I would like to ask a question.
Yes? Yes, please.
Yes.
Now we are trying to become future leaders. I am seeing future leaders in you all. And the attitude that you're developing to see that still a woman has to be a dependent on her husband.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
I am not from the women's list, but being in the same position as you are speaking, I have lost my husband, I had small children to bring them up. At least I am taking me as an example, and I find so many millions of mothers courageous and successful children. So that perspective, although I definitely appreciate your empathy for that lady, but remove that attitude. You encourage only the fighting spirit in the lady,
but never say just because she has been dependent on her husband and having lost her, she has lost all the capability to...
Yes, she is not. That's the reason she has come up.
It comes automatically. A woman is very strong. So okay, can we have a round of applause for this lady? What she has done in the last 2 minutes is she's punctured everybody's theory that a single parent bringing up a child is a huge challenge in life and it needs sympathy. I think she's punctured it royally, and we salute her for that. Can we go to Pranita, right? Oh, Pranita is over. Right, so Namita. And after Namita, it will be... Yeah, Ishwar Aditya. You're back? And stay.
Good morning, all of you. I'd like to start by saying that the debate just made me forget all my points. But I'll start from the beginning. And when we got this project, to mention very frankly, I was thoroughly confused. Like Abhiraj said, I mean, I didn't know what to do. And I considered 2 to 3 people, ranging from the helpers in our school till the lady who sells tender coconut on the street. And when I went to my mother to discuss the perspective of who I should talk to, instead of giving me an opinion, she gave me a question. She asked me, put yourself in their place and think whether you would answer the questions that you were about to ask. And that just made my confusion worse. I mean, I was ethically confused, to put it in those terms. And I came to the decision that I would not ask anybody anything about their life unless they were comfortable with it. And so, as a beforehand notice, my mother asked Shabana, this lady who works as a support staff in her office, whether I could come and talk to her. And to my relief, she agreed. And so began my task. To me, this project was not a case study. It was definitely not an interview. Because I am only about as old as her eldest daughter is. I cannot question a lady who's that elder to me, who I respect like my own mother. And to me, this was more like me listening to a woman who's come up in life through her struggles and is ready to tell me about her experience. She's ready to share with me, and I consider that an honor. The best part, however, was that I didn't have to learn Telugu for it. I could manage with my Hindi because she did understand that. So one barrier crossed. To me, this experience had two layers, or 2 levels, as I call it. The first one was trying to listen, cope up, and understand what this woman went through as a child, as a middle-aged woman, and now as an independent woman who's working, who's taking care of her children without her family support. And the second layer was the emotional level for me. The level where this was probably the first time I was looking at a person's life from close quarters. I have seen my mother struggle, and I would like to mention my mother is a single mother and I'm a single girl child. So I have seen my mother struggle, but still talking to this lady was the closest to a real life experience for me. And that brought out very raw emotions. And thanks to my mother's support, then I was able to control most of it in front of her. And it took a lot of breaks and a lot of discussion to understand what she was going through. And at the end of it, I think I'm a much more sensitive person. A person who doesn't judge a book by its cover, because I know that everyone has a different story. And most of all, I understood that leaders do come up due to adversities, and it's these adversities that mold a person and make him stronger, and I would like to imbibe that. Thank you.
Could I know why you selected this case? Since you already had this type of experience, said your mother is a single mother. So why did you select this lady?
Because this lady, she did not have the support of her family. There are 5 children. She did not have the support of her own family because she lived in a bungalow the whole of her childhood, separate from her family. So she did not have anyone to support. When I look at my family, I have thousands of relatives who I can turn to, who my mom can turn to. She did not have support. She struggled to get to the place where she is. She's earning properly now, and she is dreaming big for her children. That's the most important point. She does not want her children to face the struggle that she has, and she is dreaming big, really big for them. That's why.
What are her children doing?
Her eldest daughter, who was now taking care of the youngest boy, has now gone back into school, a special school where they teach her tailoring, because she was reluctant to continue studies after the break that came in. Her middle children are studying, they are going to school, and they are enjoying school, I may say. And
what is the difference between the experience that your mother has undergone and this experience?
The difference would be that my mother has only one boisterous child to look after, and she has 5.
Asking about your experience.
For me, I think I connect to my mother, but when this comes, I have a very personal opinion about my mother. I will never judge my mother. And when it comes to this lady, I can look at her from an outsider's perspective. That's what matters.
I have one issue with you. You were referring to Shabana as the woman. Is that a Freudian slip?
No. I mean, bringing out the name to
Why we talk about them as ladies? Why are we? No, what is it? No, I'm not being flippant about it. It's a serious question. It's not bad grammar. Your language is very good. You have a good style with your language. Why is it that you kept referring to Shabana as a woman?
Because I generally, when I read books and when I read about people, you generally go a very high class, lady-like. And here we have.
So there is the Freudian slip of condescension.
I would say that I consider her a very strong person, that's why.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ishwar Aditya Kumar, and after that will be Nishita. Nishita hasn't come. Okay, Nishita has gone. After that will be Snigdha.
Namaste everyone. As the judges said, nobody chose their parents or teachers as an inspiration, but I chose my dad as my inspiration because he did not fail in his job. And well, coming to what I've learned from my dad, I just realized how strong a human mind can be and what confidence can do to a person. As Swami Vivekananda says, whatever a human mind can believe and conceive, it can achieve. Yes, that's exactly proved in my write-up. My dad was a man who had a firm belief that he could pass through all the obstacles that life presented him with. And yes, he did. The main quality I would like to imbibe from my dad is his self-confidence combined with immense positive thinking and a great I can drift the oceans and move the mountains attitude. When one man can do it, why can't you and me do it? Well, God has done no harm. I mean, he has just, he has made us equally, like, he didn't put any differences in us. He just created us the same. But why I am struggling to find at least one leader, at least one truthful leader in such a great population, which comprises more than half of it as youth? Well, this is mainly due to lack of self-motivation. Yes, this is due to lack of self-motivation. When I use this word self-motivation, let me relate this to my write-up submitted. Well, my dad, before 3 years, he was struggling to, feed us, or struggling to at least, to be frank, he was struggling to pay my school fees. And now, he's one of the leading journalists in the Telugu media. How was this possible? This was possible only because he had the self-belief and faith in himself that he could fight all the obstacles that I presented him with, and he has won the battle, and now my inspirational leader. Well, relating it to the national context, if at least 100 such people have this self-confidence and faith in themselves, they are not joking. India will soon regain its old glory. Thank you.
You think that everything he does is right, or do you have points of differences? You said that he is your leader, so...
I mean, see, even leaders are human beings. Human beings do mistakes, right? So even my dad does mistakes, but the thing that inspires me about him is the way he got over his mistakes and now the way he's leading his life and feeding his family. That's what inspires me about him.
One aspect, did you consider it here? I'm here.
Okay.
Did you look at it from your dad's perspective that he might just feel I've done my duty towards my child, right? Did you ever converse with him about this? Did you ever talk to him about this? You're sharing your experience, your thoughts. Did you talk to him about this experience?
Yeah, I mean, what he basically means is, whatever he goes through, he never does it, he never does anything less to me or my mom. He faces all the struggles, and that's the main quality of a leader, selflessness. He's selfless. He never cares about his own health or whatever. He just, strives for us and strives for people around him. That's
now, to instill that leadership in you, definitely every parent would like to pass on that trait to their child. Yes? So, what are the instances that you had to learn this aspect rather than just observation? Did he talk about this to you?
Yeah, I mean, whenever, to be frank, my dad speaks to me every night before I sleep. Yeah. And whatever he tells me is, you do whatever you do, but just introspect yourself that what you're doing is right. If you feel what you're doing is right, tell it to me. If you feel what you're doing is wrong, talk to me. I'll show you the right way. I mean, that's what I do.